Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy, Dead on Dave, and we're here with your daily focus. It's Random Wednesday Rant or Wednesday Rant, Wednesday, whatever. It's your Wednesday Random Rant. That's not easy to say, by the way. Really excited. There's a lot of stuff going on, lots of news to talk about. This is going to be a mainly wrestling focused show today. I do want to talk about a couple things in the sports world. I'm going to get to that first. But before that, I want to, as always, give a quick thanks to everybody who's supporting the channel and checking out all of the awesome things that are going on right here at Dead on Dave Productions. We have another unboxing. It could be any day. I'm just waiting for my arcade block, which should be awesome. I'm very excited about that. Creators Corner this week should be really good. I think everyone's going to enjoy it. It is with the one, the only, the incomparable Dave Rose. So that's very exciting. All kinds of really good stuff going on this week, so make sure that you're checking it all out and supporting the channel as always. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I want to talk a little bit of sports, and then we'll get right into the wrestling after that. First and foremost, I want to say a happy trails to Martin Brodeur. He retired after 22 seasons. It looks like this is really the end for him. It's a little confusing because he joined the St. Louis Blues upper management, which is a little weird considering he's a lifelong Devil, but apparently there is a plan in the work to get him to the front office of the Devils next season, which seems a little odd to me. I don't really understand it all, but it is what it is. Looks like everything's going to work out there. Just what a career. What can you say about Martin Brodeur? It's maybe the greatest goalie of all time. Him, Hasek, Patrick Roy, I mean, really, that's three of your four faces of Mount Rushmore of goalies are right there. So it is what it is. Great career, fantastic, but Father Time wins every single confrontation. Believe me, you ain't beating Father Time. Just ain't happening. The other sports story I want to talk about, a little bit interesting. I kind of want to get your guys' feedback on this if you are so interested in these things. Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. It looks like their fight is inching closer and closer together. And through all the talks and negotiations to get this fight done, they both just happened to be at a Miami Heat game last night. They were taking on the Bucks, and both of them were there in the front row. And at the end of the game, or at halftime, one of the two, Mayweather approached Pacquiao, and apparently he gave him his personal phone number so they can talk and get this fight done. They were cordial to each other. They actually gave like a little half man hug or whatever. So these are all encouraging signs. The question is, does anybody care anymore? Pacquiao getting beat a little bit while back, albeit in controversial fashion. Mayweather's still dominant, but I mean, you could always make the argument of who has he fought lately. I mean, really, he's fought the best that the division has, but is that enough? Look, they're both in their late 30s now. This fight is not what would it have been 5 years ago. It still needs to happen. I don't think there's any question about that, and I really don't think Pacquiao has a chance against Floyd because of the way he fights. He's such a defensive fighter, and he's an artist. He really is. If you're a boxing fan at all, yeah, people could say, oh, he holds a lot. He's kind of dirty in that regards, and maybe you're right. But the way that he protects himself and the way he moves, and he knows angles better than anybody else in boxing, maybe that I've ever seen. Floyd knows how to fight, and he just peppers you. He just punches you constantly. You just can't get away from it because you're always coming forward, yet he always seems to be countering and attacking. It's really interesting to see in this day and age of how he does his thing. But this fight needs to happen. Him and Pac-Man needs to happen. And I can't stand Manny Pacquiao, so I'd love to see him get his ass kicked, even though I don't think that will happen. It won't be an ass kicking. It will be a long, tedious fight that will go the distance, and we'll get a decision. Probably a very close one. So we'll see. Do you guys have any interest in boxing? Do you care about this fight at all? Let me know in the comment section below. Finally, one other sports thing I want to talk about, and then we will get into wrestling, I promise. Anderson, the Spider Silva, returns to the ring, the Octagon, this weekend to take on one of those dirty little Diaz brothers. I do have one more thing after this, sorry. He's coming back from that nasty leg break. This should be an easy win for him. I mean, we'll see what happens. But can Anderson Silva climb back to the top of the UFC pound-for-pound rankings or even just his own division? We'll see. It should be very interesting to see how that goes. I do want to see that fight, so that'll be exciting. I forgot something else is happening this week. Oh, a little thing. You may have heard of it. It's called the Super Bowl. Shit. The Super Bowl is upon us. We're just a few days away. It doesn't really seem like, other than Deflategate and all that, it just doesn't really seem to be getting anybody very juiced up. Marshawn Lynch doing his stupid-ass antics in the media. I mean, both of these teams are highly unlikable in many, 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 many different ways. It's just, I don't know. Who's the favorite in this? It's basically a push at this point. I feel that if you play this game 100 times, it might be 50-50. I mean, literally, this is how even these two teams are. This is as good as Seattle can be defensively. I think Brady and Belichick are good enough. They work their game plans well enough offensively, and they're good enough defensively to keep this game very close and keep Seattle's offense from really getting going. Of course, this game goes right through Marshawn Lynch. This game will go as Marshawn Lynch dictates. If he is held down and not able to get going, Russell Wilson, especially in the last game, has proven he cannot take over ball games like we thought he can. He is more of a game manager, even though I hate that term for quarterbacks. But he is. I don't know if he's an elite playmaking. He's not a Tom Brady. He's a very good quarterback. Any team would love to have him. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know if Russell Wilson's going to step up and win you a game when all else fails. If that defense isn't firing on all cylinders, if that running game isn't getting off, you're in for a rough day. I'm going with the Patriots. I am, just because I don't like the Patriots, but I don't really like Seattle, and I hate this whole fucking state of Washington. So I'm going to go with New England. And I'm going to go with New England 24-17. 24-17 New England. So they should cover whatever the point spread is, and either going to win. I don't think they're going to be favorites once the game starts, but we'll see. And hopefully Katy Perry falls off the stage at halftime. Lenny Kravitz will try to have sex with Katy Perry sometime during that game. Maybe not on stage, but he'll try to roofie her in the back or something. That is the surefire bet of the Super Bowl, okay? Oh, yeah. All right, so we got all that out of the way. Let's get into wrestling, shall we? Because that's what we really care about. So let's get into some wrestling. Let's talk wrestling. Everybody has been freaking out this week because of everything that went down. We had the Royal Rumble, which has gotten, at best, mixed reviews. After rewatching it, I'm not as beaten on it as I was originally, because I'm understanding it more. I'm getting what they were trying to do. I feel the execution was still really poor as far as how they decided to put Roman Reigns over. But here's what you got to remember about Reigns. And this irritates the shit out of me, that people try to say that Roman Reigns is nobody likes him. Nobody wants him to be a top guy and all this. That's simply not true. It's bullshit. Maybe it was true with Batista last year. In fact, I will say it was true. Nobody wanted to see him. Reigns, it's not the same thing. People just wanted to see Brian Moore, and Reigns is a victim of that. I don't know if Batista was a victim. They saw it coming last year, and they just didn't care. This year, they made a bad move in eliminating Bryan early. I feel if they would have handled it better, Reigns wouldn't have suffered as much as he had. But there was a story, I want to say it was either the Inquisitor or Bleacher Report, that was stating that the headline was so ridiculous. It said, major backlash on the WWE over superstar that nobody likes winning a major match. Okay, this is before the Royal Rumble, okay? Since he has come back, since Roman Reigns has come back from injury, he may be the most over wrestler on the roster. He might just be. I mean, him and Daniel Bryan were neck and neck as far as pops at every single program. So I don't get that. Look, he's taken a hit because of the situation. I feel the Blizzard Raw did a lot to repair that. And let's talk about that Raw for a second. That got great ratings. It's one of the highest rated Raws in a very long time. Did very well, up almost like 17% from last week's show. This is good. These are good things. That means maybe, and I'm sure a lot of people were tuning in just to see what happened, especially when they found out it was going to be mainly interviews, and others who were going in who maybe didn't see the Royal Rumble main events, being the triple threat, the amazing triple threat, and the Royal Rumble match itself. They got to see it for free, and I'm actually okay with that too. This was a special situation. I do feel it was a little bit of a punch and retaliation to those who were the cancel the network guys. But as I told you guys the other day, the cancel the network thing was not going to be as big of a deal as people were trying to make it out to be. Because at most, I felt, and numbers seem to back this up, that maybe between 50 and 70,000 people were going to unsubscribe. Now, that might sound like a big number, but that number is probably close to what it was going to be anyway. Because many of the people who were unsubscribing after the Rumble only bought the network for this month for the Rumble, and they're unsubscribing because it's close to the end of the month and they don't want to get charged for next month. They'll come back for WrestleMania. So that makes complete sense to me. So I think WWE completely planned for that, and they were not really worried about it. But something happened that people were not expecting, and I completely forgot about it too. Everything has been positioned to kind of protect this from being a huge backlash. The UK just getting their network up and everything. The free month of November that we were just like, wow, that was kind of out of nowhere, giving away Survivor Series. All of these things were to inflate the numbers, possibly because they knew this was coming. They knew there was a possible backlash because they knew they were going with Reigns. I don't think there was ever another plan in place. I don't believe what Triple H said to the people in the back, if that meeting actually happened, where he said, we don't know who's winning what. I think that's bullshit. I feel they always knew it was going to be Reigns. The way they booked it, the way they had The Rock involved, all of that seems to be, and I know that The Rock seemed rather off the cuff, but I don't believe that either. I think that was rather planned and staged. They knew what they were doing. And it just seems like everything is kind of backing that line of thought up because they protected themselves well. Why do I say that? Well, real simple. Because it was announced Monday, the same day that everybody's going absolutely crazy, talking about how the WWE is going to die and all of this and the beginning of the end. What happened? They announced that they hit 1 million subscribers, or they announced it yesterday, excuse me. They hit their 1 million subscriber mark, which is very, very important on a couple of notes. One, it's their break-even point. So now they're profitable. The network is now 100% profitable for the WWE. That's a big thing for them. Two, it also goes down because they did it in 11 months, which makes them the fastest growing subscription-based streaming service in history. Period. Faster than Hulu, faster than Netflix, faster than any of the others. Now, you could say that, Hulu and Netflix and things like that, people had to search it out. The WWE was a established brand. That might have some credence if we weren't talking about a movie and film, a movie and television service. It's a big genre. Wrestling's a littler genre. We're talking something that draws 4 million viewers a week on Raw, sometimes less than that. So we're not talking about huge numbers. And even with TNA and Lucha and other stuff, maybe 6.5 million people tops are weekly wrestling watchers right now. That's not a big number. That's just not. So it's just a very interesting thing when you think about how quickly this has actually grown. And they wanted it to be a lot faster. They were hoping to get there a hell of a lot quicker, but believe me, they will take it now, especially considering everything that has happened over the last few days. Apparently, that canceled subscription thing kind of backfired on all the people that were hoping to cause chaos, because Monday is going down as one of the best single days for new subscribers to the network. Now, that's an interesting thing. I mean, it just seems like not as many people were as outraged as that Philadelphia crowd might have led people to believe. Look, I said it many times during the Raw the reviews, the Royal Rumble review and the Raw review and some other conversations that I've had, people have heard me say this. I feel that Philadelphia crowd did overinflate the reaction a little bit because they are one of the higher echelon as far as wrestling intelligence that you're going to see in a fan base. So they're going to react that way. That's just how they're going to be. And that's completely fine. That doesn't necessarily represent the majority, nor does it mean that Reigns is going to be buried in every single arena he goes to. Could he be? Sure. He could get booed at the next arena he goes. He can get booed on this Thursday's live SmackDown. It's very possible. But I don't know if it's going to be as bad because here's what you got to remember. Before this happened, Reigns was probably the most over guy on the card. And, you know, I don't understand all of the hatred on Reigns anyway. And this is coming from a guy who did not want Reigns to win this match and was not looking forward to a Reigns-Brock Lesnar matchup. Now, you have to remember that. I don't want this match. However, it is what we have, and I'm going to analyze it as such because this is what we got. So I'm going to try and look at it and see what makes sense and what doesn't. People are going to say, well, Reigns is just like Cena. False. It's not fucking true. It's just not reality. You're wrong here. He's not like Cena. I think he's more athletic than John Cena was. I feel he's got a better look than John Cena did. He doesn't have a better gimmick because Cena's gimmick early on was fantastic, the thugonomics and all that, and even the ruthless aggression stuff. And some of you are yelling at the screen right now. What are you talking about? He's not a better worker than Cena, or how can you? They're exactly the same. No, because if you're saying that, you obviously didn't watch NXT when Roman Reigns was down there. When Roman Reigns was down in NXT and he fought the top talent in that organization, we got to see what Roman Reigns can do. And the guy can work. He can work. And I believe he will work more as time goes on because he's going to have to as a WWE champion. He's just going to have to because he's going to be taking on guys like Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan. These guys are going to be the top competitors. Dolph Ziggler. These are the dudes that he's going to have to wrestle. And it's not all going to be these power bucking matches. And if you've been watching and paying attention, he's had matches with Bray Wyatt and other people recently showing more versatile sides of himself. So, I can't defend everything. Is he terrible on the mic? 9 times out of 10, yes, he is. But if you watched Raw, you saw a different side of him. And you should be excited with that side. I think there are things to be optimistic about when it comes to Roman Reigns. Is it going to work? Not necessarily. It might not. It could blow up, and they might have to adjust accordingly. They may have to bury his ass if this doesn't work. It might even go after he wins the WrestleMania. If fans you know what? I'm not even 100% sure that he's going to beat Brock Lesnar because maybe Lesnar's going to end up staying. Maybe sense comes into play, and he's like, well, I'm 38. 38, maybe I shouldn't go back to UFC. This is the easy life I can do for the next 2 years and really make myself financially secure. Why not stay? It would make the most sense. I think he should stay. I'd like to see him more frequently, though, because he's awesome. When he's there and he's on, he's awesome. Let's face it. The other thing, he could win this match against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, and he could be getting booed out of the building. Imagine the pop that will happen if Seth Rollins cashes in on him on WrestleMania. Imagine the explosion. That would be a WrestleMania saver in a lot of ways if WrestleMania was going in a bad way. So there are always ways to get out of this if they need to. That's the beauty of Money in the Bank that I don't think anybody ever really appreciated. It's a cop out. It's a plan B. For WWE management. It's always there. It's a card they can play, and it's wonderful. I really enjoy it. I feel it's been a landscape changer within the WWE. I do feel it needs to evolve. I'm not sure how, but it does need to evolve. I feel like we need something else out of the Money in the Bank, whether it be a different type of matchup, maybe do it inside of a Hell in a Cell. I don't know. There's different things that they can do, I think, because the match needs to evolve, and maybe the contract needs to be altered just a little bit. Again, I really don't have a suggestion as to how to alter it. I just feel it should be. I'll put some thought into that. But with Roman Reigns, I think that we need to give him a little bit more time. And the fact that a lot of good things are happening for the WWE right now, in spite of all the backlash, should tell you that they're not as badly positioned as we thought they might be. And I think that there's enough stuff going on the undercard and the mid-card that WrestleMania could actually be pretty damn good. Now, we got 60 days until it, so there's a lot that can happen between now and then. So let's not jump off the bridge. I've been trying to caution this all week. Let's let things play out. Now, all that being said, here's what really matters to the WWE. Money. And guess what happened? With the news of the 1 million subscribers, and amongst other things, the stock jumped 20% yesterday. The stock jumped 20% yesterday. Whew, that's a big day. That's a big day. That's a big day, especially considering the Dow took a 400-point loss in the stock market yesterday. But WWE jumped 20%. So that's just, it goes to show, who knows what it would have done had it been a stronger overall day for the market. I think today they're going to have another nice little jump. It should be a good day for the WWE stock. So we'll see what happens there. It's just there's a lot of stuff going on, and I think more good than people are willing to admit at this point. Now, I can be wrong. There's no question Roman Reigns could not work out. I'm just not sure that that's going to be the case. Let's talk a little bit of Lucha Underground. Let's switch gears for a moment. Lucha is having some serious problems with its announcers. I found this very interesting because when I clicked on this story, I was fully expecting it to be about Matt Striker because he seems to be the problem to me, and most people who comment on here and talk about other places seem to be relatively happy with Vampiro. Apparently, that's not the friggin' case. Basically, Vampiro has pissed off everybody within the company with his lack of knowledge. And I have called him out on that, actually, in the past. His lack of wrestling knowledge, his lack of continuity as far as faces and heels and understanding the basic principles of wrestling, which is kind of weird considering he was a professional wrestler. I mean, kind of, if you want to call Vampiro a professional wrestler. He had a career, kind of. I don't know. But the thing that seems to be pissing the most people off is he forgets the wrestlers' names. And apparently this has made Matt Striker look really bad, which I feel Matt Striker looks bad most of the time anyway. If I have to hear him talk about how he's marking out one more time, I'm going to blow my fucking brains out. I really am. I'm so tired of Matt Striker using industry terms to try to connect with the fan base. Not everybody's a smart, Matt. Not everybody's a mark here. Not everybody is a dirt sheet reading wrestling fan. In fact, we are the dying majority. If you're watching this show right now, chances are you are a dying breed. And there are some young people, in fact, a lot of young people who read this, and I think that's or watch this, and I think that's awesome because you are part of a dying legacy. The Smarks are dying. The reality is more younger kids are watching wrestling and just taking it like we used to. Why? Because that's what happens. That's the ebb and flow. That's the pattern. The circle of life. Why am I being stared at? Circle. That's right. It's the circle of life in wrestling, bitches. It's the circle of life. And that's what it is. And we're going to see these things constantly flowing in a circular pattern because that's what happens. But right now, the Smarks are dying. So for Matt Striker to constantly try to, I'm marking out, man. And he uses all kinds of backstage industry terms. Congratulations for you. But you're not a very good announcer. But apparently Vampiro makes him look worse, which I find interesting. And he causes hours of editing problems for the guys in the back. So Vampiro could be gone. Now, this could all be manufactured because they are really trying to sign Jim Ross. And Jim Ross is being very coy about the entire thing, even though he just worked with Matt Striker over in New Japan. Some people seem to really like their commentary. I was not a fan. I'd like to hear what you guys think about that. I didn't really like the commentary by them. I felt it was very dated. I felt Jim Ross was trying way too hard to make connections to an American marketplace. I don't understand that because the Japanese people who were watching it on pay-per-view or watching it however they watch it in Japan, I don't know if they get it for free, they spoke Japanese. They weren't listening to you anyway, JR. They weren't listening to you. So any most Americans who were watching that Kingdom Ring, whatever it's called, Kingdom 9, most of the people who were watching that were Americans and wrestling fans, they knew all the references already. They know who these guys are. They watch Ring of Honor. They watch New Japan when they can. They know these people. So the constant stuffing it down our throats of the references were just tedious and just. I don't want to. Bottom line, I don't want to see Jim Ross and Matt Striker together in Lucha. I don't think it's going to help them at all. I feel it's going to do the opposite of what they're trying to do. They're trying to carve out a niche of their own. At least that's what it would appear to be, that they are trying to carve out a niche of their own. They're trying to do something fresh, younger, hip, and Jim Ross is the anti of all of that. Would he give them a little credibility? Possibly, but I think in the long run, when you listen to JR over time now, I feel it's going to do more harm than good. And I know that's going to upset some people because JR is a god. He's the greatest announcer of all time. And that's very true. He is the greatest announcer in the history of our business. I am fully on board with that. He was. He's not anymore. He's not that Jim Ross from 10, 20 years ago. He's not. Let's face that. I mean, people get older. He's got all kinds of stuff. And look, his podcast is fine. It's nothing wrong with it, but it's a different way of speaking. And if you notice, even on the podcast, he's very repetitive. Very repetitive. And it just goes with getting older. He talks about how people are out of touch. Jim Ross is a little out of touch, and that's okay. People would say that even when he was in WWE, that Jim Ross was a little out of touch. Jim Ross was still trying to do things the old school method, and he begrudgingly was part of the Attitude Era. Jim Ross talks about it. That was not his favorite time to be commentating, but it is what it is. So all these things are happening, and I don't know if it's the best for Lucha. I have no idea. But what I do know is this. There's probably going to be a change within the commentating crew on Lucha Underground, and it's probably going to happen very, very soon. Other news. The Undertaker's WWE status right now is kind of up in the air. Most people seem to think, just like last year, that he will wrestle. And it looks like more than likely he will wrestle Bray Wyatt, and I really don't want to see that. It does seem like he's going to wrestle. He has not confirmed anything yet, and there are some that do not think he's going to. But remember, he went very deep to the end of the wire last year before he did announce he was going to be wrestling. So, you take it with a grain of salt and you go with it. But more than likely, he's going to want that payday. We could say, well, he's got all the money in the world. Well, maybe not. You don't know that. You have no idea. So it is what it is when it comes to The Undertaker. Do you think The Undertaker's going to wrestle this year? Do you think he's going to go into the Hall of Fame? Should he go into the Hall of Fame this year and wrestle at the same time? Should he be rewarded with the honor that only Ric Flair has gotten, and that is being the only active wrestler to go into the Hall of Fame? Should The Undertaker be number 2? I would make the argument that he probably should, because he's probably one of the most important, if not the most important, wrestler in WWE history. I mean, you can talk about Rock and Austin. Him and Triple H, they have the longevity that Rock and Austin don't have. Austin had a longer career overall than The Rock, of course, but his run on top in WWE was a small window, and The Rock was even smaller. So, it's a very interesting thing when you think about just how... Think about this for a second. The Rock and Austin's, both of their big runs, when you're discounting injuries and all that stuff, is not much longer than Brock Lesnar's run. And his was relatively short. So, run on top I'm talking about. That's what you got to keep in mind. Austin missed a lot of time, and really, he didn't get hot until 98. That's when he really took over and became the man. And how long did he run for? He ran for a while, but not as long as some of the other guys. So, like The Undertaker, who just seemed to be on top forever. And he was going back and forth with Austin during that time. You got to remember, there is like a core of 5 guys who were continually just driving that entire era for the WWE. Triple H is one of those guys. Rock, Austin, Undertaker, and probably Mankind. later on Kurt Angle and stuff. But those are the guys that really did drive the company for them. So you take all that in consideration, and you have to reward The Undertaker accordingly. So just what is Undertaker's place in wrestling history? What should it be? And should he wrestle? I have no idea. Actually, no, I made my opinion I'm tired. I'm sorry. I made my opinion very clear, I think. I believe that is all I have today. Make sure you check out the deadondave.spreadshirt.com for the copious shirt, the Daved in the Face shirt, the brand new Daved in the Face shirt. That is there. The copious coffee cup. They're all there. Reasonable prices. Make sure you check all that stuff out. And if you do buy a shirt, make sure you take a picture, send it, tweet it to me at DeadOnDaveV right here on YouTube. That works too. Go to my Facebook page, backslash, forward slash, whatever. YouTube forward slash, I'm sorry, Facebook.com/ this guy's take on it. You can reach me at all those mediums and also on Skype, David Vancura, DavidVancura. If you tweet me a picture, I guarantee I will put you on the show for a couple minutes to talk about whatever you want to. I'm not going to let you talk for an hour, but I'll give you a couple minutes to rap about something with me and get your thoughts out there. Be kind of fun, I think. So make sure you do that. Also, a little bit of a teaser. Looks like the great Joe Cronin and I might be going in together and making a combination shirt. If we do that, what should it be? I'm thinking some kind of hashtag fact and copious combination. What do you guys think of that? If you have any design ideas, please let me know. Isaac Rojas. Or anybody else out there. If you want to take down the great Isaac Rojas, here's your opportunity. Take him down. Show him what you got. Let's have a design war. Woo! A lot of cool Creators Corner stuff is coming up, including an interview very soon with the great Isaac Rojas and some other people that I have met recently. I'm real excited to do all of those. So lots of big things happening here on Dead on Dave Productions. We're approaching 400 subs. I would really, really like to get there before the end of the month. I know it's only 3 days, but I think that we can do it. I need a good surge. I think you guys can make that happen for me. If you have not subbed yet and you are watching, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, you leave a comment, because this community runs on you. You guys make this show. You make me go. You make me come to the surface. I'm not dirty today. People complaining I was a little dirty. I'm not as dirty today as I have been, so, suck it. Look, thanks, guys, for joining me once again. I appreciate it. And I will see you right here tomorrow on Dead on Dave Productions with your Daily Focus. Ooh, battle review tomorrow. Battle review. Lucha versus NXT. Make sure you check that out. That's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see you tomorrow. See you later. Peace.